The woman was about to give birth, but her husband discovered that the baby was in a feet-down position, not head down. The chance of a normal birth was almost zero. What should they do? It turns out that because of the heavy rain outside, the couple had no choice but to give birth at home. But they didn't expect this situation to happen. Luckily, the man was a doctor. He immediately called his colleague for help. Then he found the emergency kit and the scalpel, but he couldn't find any anesthesia. This meant they could only perform a C-section without anesthesia. That was the only way to save both of their lives. After a long time, the woman was finally taken to the hospital. She had lost consciousness. Her baby was lying in her husband's arms. Several hours later, the doctor brought the good news. The woman was safe and sound. The man shed tears of relief. The woman went blind, her eyes bleeding.
What's wrong?
The interns ran a series of tests, but couldn't figure out what was happening. The woman suddenly started having trouble breathing. After intubation and emergency care, she was temporarily stabilized. Dr. House, feeling along her neck and calf, noticed a lump behind her knee. Suddenly, he had an idea. He asked his assistant to bring a syringe. He jabbed it into the lump and drew out the fluid inside. The woman's child asked, "What's this?" House told the girl to open her mouth and sprayed the liquid directly in. The nurses around him looked horrified. After tasting it, the girl surprisingly said,
"Milk."
It turned out the woman had breast cancer, but the cancer cells didn't grow in her breasts. They had grown in her calf instead. The world is truly full of surprises. An electric car caught fire after an accident. The firefighter worked for 10 minutes to put out the fire. The car owner said, if he had known, he wouldn't have bought an electric car. A few minutes earlier, the firefighter got the call. There was a fire at an intersection. Although the driver escaped, the passenger was still trapped inside, so the firefighter immediately started the rescue. But as soon as he walked over, the electric car caught fire again.
Hey, get them hoses back on there and keep them there!
After spraying water for half an hour, the fire was finally out. The firefighter smashed the window.
We're gonna get you out of here, sir.
A few firefighters worked together and finally rescued the passenger. A check showed the man wasn't seriously hurt, but he needed to go to the hospital right away.
Hey, kill it. Y'all did good work.
This fire's out.
So, what do you think? Electric cars or gasoline cars? A girl who had just suffered violence from a man came to the hospital, but when the doctor examined her, he found something in her stomach that didn't belong to her.
Oh my god. She bit it off.
Bit off what?
That's his penis.
The male doctors immediately felt their legs tighten. This woman must be one tough cookie. She confiscated the criminal's weapon of choice. According to the rules, medical evidence must stay with the collector until the police take it. So Gray had to carry this piece of evidence with her everywhere she went. The other interns heard about it and couldn't help but come take a look. But the moment she saw the size of the tool, she quickly put the lid back on. A few hours later, the owner of the tool was found. As women, they didn't want to help him, but as doctors, they had to. In the end, they stopped the bleeding, but that man would never be a man again. A woman is driving to work as usual. Suddenly, a car gets blasted into the air because of a pressure test gone wrong on the sewer lines. Chaos everywhere. Multiple vehicles crash together. The observer sees an unconscious person in a car. Without telling anyone, he rushes over to rescue her.
Bob! I got another one! What is he doing? Fred, she needs to be put on a gurney!
As the observers placed the woman on the stretcher, her neck spine fell back unsupported. It's a dangerous move, but the observers don't get it. He doesn't receive professional first aid training. Instead of the praise he expected, the captain looks furious. Back at the firehouse, the captain pulls him aside.
What you did back there was reckless and stupid.
That woman was in danger. She was trapped in the car. She needed my help.
And if she'd had a spinal injury and you carried her around like that, you could have paralyzed her.
All right.
That's why we always put people in seat collars before we move them.
The observer falls silent, embarrassed. He realizes that being a firefighter is not an easy task. In the ER, the doctors gather around a man. He suddenly can't speak, but doesn't know what's causing it. Dr. House rules out everything and says that leaves only one last possibility.
Speaking. Ow!
It turns out the man and the woman have just come from a wedding. Before the groom says "I do," he can't speak and suddenly passes out. Everyone thinks he fainted to avoid getting married. He quickly insists he's not pretending, but his explanation doesn't seem very convincing. His fiancée still believes he just passed out. When they decide to go ahead with the wedding, the groom passes out again. The doctors suspect poisoning and go to check his house for any toxic sources. There, they unexpectedly meet the groom's roommate, who's also his ex-boyfriend. Even after admitting to past sexual encounters, the groom refuses to admit he is gay.
So, you're not gay?
They cured me, Nicole.
He reveals he underwent conversion therapy to cure his sexuality. This might explain his symptoms. His fiancée gets worried when she learns he has nerve damage. While keeping him company at the hospital, the fiancée meets the groom's roommate. That's when she starts to realize the real reason behind her fiancé's erectile dysfunction. When they do more tests, they notice something strange. Despite being in a cool room with air conditioning, the groom keeps saying he feels hot and is sweating. When the doctor lifts his shirt, they're shocked to find he's actually producing breast milk. This weird symptom leads House to diagnose the groom with a rare condition. Turns out, he was born with this condition. This condition caused all his unusual symptoms. The groom still hopes to finish the wedding, but she realizes that everything has changed. She knows his sexual orientation isn't something he can just change. In the end, she chooses to leave him. A car crashed into the green belt. Upon closer inspection, a manhole cover was actually stuck in the car. The firefighters were just getting ready to rescue them when suddenly, a loud explosion was heard. A manhole cover shot into the sky, followed by the second, and then the third. The scene immediately became chaotic. The sewer could explode at any moment, but the firefighters had no time to worry about that. Rescuing the people was the priority. They quickly pried open the car door, passed the rope through the front windshield, and then wrapped it around the manhole cover. The firefighters took hold of the rope and pulled with all their might. The manhole cover was gradually pulled out. A muscular firefighter opened the driver's side door, placed a neck brace on the man, and then lifted him onto a stretcher to be sent to the hospital. The child in the back seat was also successfully rescued. On Christmas, a husband is caught cheating by his wife.
You two-timing son of a perro!
The man runs, with the woman chasing after him.
Sorry about that! Merry Christmas!
Just then, a passing tram strikes the man, knocking him to the ground. When the firefighters arrive, they find his leg is severely broken. The captain asks who the man's family is, and both women claim to be his wife.
Artie has everyone mentioned you!
The captain is taken aback by the situation. The driver of the tram, terrified.
How about you come outside and just let me check you for injuries, just to be safe?
Nope. Safer in here.
One of the women then sees the other woman's child and learns that the child is younger than her own. It dawns on her that she's actually the mistress. Her anger intensifies. To prevent further injury, they quickly rush the man to the hospital.
Daddy! Dad! I lived and died!
The man's head was stabbed by his kid's ice skate, bleeding profusely, yet he was still comforting him.
Can do it, boy!
The firefighter told the child to stay still. She cut the laces and prepared to pull his foot out of the skate.
1, 2, 3. Foot's clear.
The firefighter asked the onlookers to fetch a towel. The father sent his son to help. As soon as the son walked away, the father burst into crying. He asked the firefighter if he was going to die. It turned out the father had been pretending to be strong in front of his son, but inside, he was terrified. The firefighter could only reassure him while securing the man's head and the skate, then rushed him to the hospital. The volcano suddenly erupted. The volcanic rocks it spat out landed right on the man's chest. It looked like the man's chest was about to be burned through. Firefighters quickly grabbed their tongs to help, but the volcanic rock was too hot. The tongs couldn't handle it.
It's melting.
The man had passed out. The firefighters had no choice but to quickly get a heat-resistant laryngoscope. Only then could they throw the rock off the man's chest. But where did the volcanic rock come from? It turns out, Just before that, students were having a pool party, but the volcano under the pool suddenly erupted, and magma started pouring out. The students were so scared. They all ran away. Only one boy, because the music was too loud, he didn't notice, leaned back and fell into the pool. The pool's temperature quickly shot up. A girl tried to pull him out of the pool, but she only grabbed his skin, which had been burned off. When the firefighters arrived, the girl's arm was badly burned. They had to quickly wrap it up and send her to the hospital. But there's one thing I'm curious about. Why build a pool on top of a volcano? The foam slowly starts to cover his face. Is he going to suffocate? To help with his sister's new house renovations, the man volunteered to add insulation foam to the roof. But since he wasn't experienced with the foam machine, he didn't see the machine's high-pressure cue. The foam suddenly spewed out in huge quantities. At this time, the long hose trips him, causing him to fall and lose consciousness. By the time the firefighters arrive, the foam has spread down to the floor below. The insulation is so effective at soundproofing and temperature control that they can't locate him.
How do we get him out if we can't find him?
Old-fashioned pick and poke.
The firefighters keep poking at the ceiling while calling out his name. They take out a chainsaw, cut down a section of the ceiling, then remove the wooden boards, finally revealing the man, unconscious, buried in foam. He's quickly lifted onto a stretcher, sent to the ambulance. This son cooks for his mom for the first time. Then his mom falls over. "Mom, is it really that bad?" The boy quickly calls 911. After briefly explaining the symptoms, the operator tells the boy that his mom might be having a heart attack.
Can you tell me your name and address?
Leo, 2749 Elmer Avenue.
Next, the boy follows the operator's instructions. He first helps his mom lie down. Then, following the instructions,
Hold up your left hand and spread your fingers wide. Then take your right hand and put it over your left. Curl those top fingers around your bottom hand.
to wake his mom up faster, the boy puts in all his strength, but he accidentally breaks his mom's rib. The boy gets really scared. He's afraid he hurt his mom, so he doesn't want to keep going, but the operator tells him he has to keep going.
1, 2, 3, 4.
His mom still isn't waking up until the firefighters arrive. They bring out the defibrillator once and again. Finally, his mom's heart starts beating again, and she was then taken to the hospital. Do you love your mom?
See me, Norman! See me now!
When the husband saw the live stream on someone else's phone, he was so shocked that he dropped his iced Americano. The woman screamed, and even when the firefighters brought in the inflatable mat, she shot it and popped it. She even aimed the gun at the firefighters.
I don't want to hurt anybody! I just can't handle being ignored anymore!
The police officer warned her. At that moment, her husband rushed over.
I see you just like the sign says.
Liar! You look right through me! You don't even notice me! I'm just around to collect the mail!
I don't even know what that means. I'm the one who brings in the mail.
The man couldn't convince her, so he decided to play their music. When the song they first heard at the music festival played, whether it was the girl who drank a whole case of beer, or the one with a hangover, he had always loved her.
I see the girl I love!
Everyone clapped. The woman came down from the billboard. But wait, didn't this man forget to hit the play button?
Concealment and fractured chips in. He should have been in the OR 5 minutes. The OR is ready for him.
He's not ready for the OR.
While everyone's in the meeting, someone suddenly falls from upstairs, crashing through the skylight onto the conference table. This is a surgeon from the hospital. At this point, he's covered in blood, with a steel pipe sticking out of his chest. His neck wound is huge. Pressing on it isn't helping anymore. Despite people keep trying to stop him, the doctor still pulls out a calf balloon, inserts it into the wound. The bleeding finally stops. He is rushed to the operating room, but one of the doctors stopped him from entering. He required him to have a CT before he could operate, but the pipe is too long. He doesn't have a way to do a CT, so the doctor cuts part of the pipe off to get him into the scanner. After the surgery, he wakes up. The excessive workload has left him with no time for his personal life, causing a buildup of depression. He hasn't even had time to see a doctor. Now he finally gets it. A normal life is more important than work. He's going to leave the medical field and pursue what he loves. The firefighter pushed through the crowd of onlookers and saw a large chunk of the girl's scalp had been torn off by the stationary bike. The man standing nearby looked guilty, saying he was riding the bike when the girl suddenly flew off it. There was blood everywhere. The firefighter stepped forward to check the girl's condition and realized cutting her hair would solve the problem. The team doctor asked the man to get a towel, but he stood frozen, as if he hadn't heard.
Hello?
Seeing this, the trainer had to go and fetch it herself. They placed the towel under the girl's head and then cut off her hair, taking the scalp with it to the hospital.
A venomous snake slithered into the baby's room. While the baby was shaking his rattle at it, the parents, dining out, checked the surveillance on their phone and saw this dangerous scene. They immediately dialed for help. The rescue team rushed to the scene, forcing the door open to find the baby. Suddenly, the baby started crying loudly. Jack hurried over to pick up the baby and got startled by the snake nearby. Julia grabbed a box to trap the snake. Meanwhile, the baby's parents arrived home. Jack noticed clothes on the floor. The mother wondered where the nanny was.
Where's your laundry?
The basement.
Jack rushed to the basement. He found the nanny unconscious, bitten by the snake. There were snakes all around her. They went back to the car to change clothes for rescue. Then they used fire extinguishers to scatter the snakes, seizing the opportunity to rescue the nanny.
Katie, wake up. It's time to play.
Every day, the girl chats with the mysterious person on the camera. One day, she finds the gift from the mysterious person and then sets the house on fire. She almost burns her parents on the second floor to death. After the firefighters investigate, they find out the mysterious person is actually their former nanny. It turns out she wanted to be the girl's mother.
I'm going to be your mommy now.
The girl was too scared to speak. Coincidentally, at that moment, the captain arrived and subdued the nanny. The girl was successfully rescued.
A woman came to the hospital because she was pregnant, but her boyfriend was also pregnant. Have you met a pregnant couple? The doctor first checked the movement. Then she did a urine test on the man, but both tests came back positive. Neither the doctor nor the whole medical field had ever seen a case like this. So, everyone came to check it out, but they forgot about the patient's rights.
Mr. Herman is a patient, a surgical patient, who's sick and embarrassed and tired of being stared at.
At Gray's strong request, all the reporters left. Finally, the man was taken to radiology for a checkup.
Jeez. Are those teeth?
The man really did have a fetus inside, but this fetus wasn't his own. It was something he absorbed while still in his mother's womb. Now, this tumor didn't show any signs of life, just a big mass of cells. To stop the tumor from growing more, the doctors decided to perform surgery. Before the surgery, the man thanked Gray for treating him like a human, not a specimen, and Gray just said, "This is what all doctors should do." The woman is doing yoga. She takes a deep breath, then slowly sits up. But when she opens her eyes, the scene in front of her suddenly goes blurry. She keeps squinting her eyes, but it doesn't help. She quickly uses her voice assistant to call for help. The rescue team arrives soon, but the woman can't open the door for them. The captain tells her not to move, and they break the door down. As they help the woman up, the captain asks if she's used any new makeup. The woman says no.
Morning just completely gone?
I woke to greet the world and it wasn't there.
They begin checking her out, but her blood pressure is normal, so it's not a circulation issue. They ask her to relax, and then tell her to open her eyes wide. They notice her pupil response is weak. Just then, the team doctor spots something moving in her eye. It catches their attention right away. The captain immediately thinks of a parasite, face files. It feeds on tears, lays eggs in the eyeball, but it's usually found in cows, not humans. The woman finally admits the truth. She's a yoga teacher, and because goats are the perfect weight for plank poses, goat yoga has become super popular. That's how she ended up getting infected by the face files. The team carefully uses tweezers to pull the parasite out, then the second one, and the third one. Once all the parasites are removed, the woman's vision returns to normal, but when she sees the worms, after goat yoga is off the table, the woman starts thinking about rabbit yoga. The team doesn't know what to say at this point. The young couple share a French kiss on the balcony, but as they got more excited, luckily, there was an ad sign below. That caught the woman. The man quickly called for help. When the firefighters arrived, They saw the woman was stuck 100 meters high. Even though they put safety airbags on the ground, it wouldn't help, so they split into 2 teams. One team took down the lower glass, while the other climbed to the balcony to secure the safety rope. But just as they were about to start, the firefighters were getting closer to her, and the glass was being removed. But before they could send down the safety rope, luckily, the firefighter by the glass grabs her with sheer strength. Choi came over to help. The woman was safely rescued. We just don't know if she'll ever get nervous while kissing again. In order to stay close to her idol, the girl pours glue on the ground and lies down on it. The Bachelor show is currently filming. Choi, the Golden Bachelor, is the star of this episode. One by one, the female contestants step up to him, each hoping for a chance to go on a date with him. As Joey waits for the next contestant, a stretch limo pulls up in front of him. Out steps a woman dressed in a shiny silver outfit, holding a bottle of glue. Her excitement is completely off the charts. Joey awkwardly tries to change the topic.
I'm stuck on you, and I hope that you'll be stuck on me too.
But the crew immediately senses something is wrong. This woman isn't part of the lineup. The director calls for security to take her out, but realizing she's been caught, she starts shouting.
I have dreamed of this moment since I was 21 years old.
Then, she pours the glue all over the floor and quickly lies down on it. Everyone is in complete shock. When the directors try to pull her up, they accidentally peel off some of her skin. In a panic, they dial 911 for help. Rescue teams arrive quickly. The team leader asks what kind of glue she is using. The woman refuses to say a word. He guesses it must be industrial glue. Unfortunately, they don't have the right solvent on hand. The only option is to take her to the hospital, but since she is completely stuck to the floor, how are they going to move her? The captain has a sudden idea.
How do we get her off this driveway?
They bring in a jackhammer, cut out the flooring with her still attached, and carry both the woman and the driveway away. The director is heartbroken because the mansion is rented, and now the floor is destroyed, making it impossible to continue filming. Meanwhile, the woman keeps talking about keeping the driveway as a souvenir. Truly, what a crazy fan. The dude had something black in his mouth that looked like a pebble. The firefighter wanted to remove it.
Jeez, oh god, okay.
Just a moment ago, the firefighters found the old man lying motionless on the sofa as she approached for an examination. The old man, facing the inquiries, struggled in pain without uttering a word. The firefighter then discovered the dark lump in his mouth and instructed him to spit it out. Proved challenging, but his head shook like a tambourine. The firefighter attempted to assist in removal, but an unpleasant odor ensued. The firefighter speculated the old man had accidentally bitten his tongue while eating, leading to necrosis. Swiftly, medication was administered. He was promptly transported to the hospital for treatment. Have any of you ever bitten your tongue?
On the plane, the stewardess slipped. Then, she got angry and told passengers to sit quietly, warning the man not to harass. Then, amidst the bewildered passengers, she drank 3 bottles of vodka in one go. Immediately after, she grabbed the intercom and started scolding the passengers.
For 15 years, I have been yelled at, pawed at, spilled on, sneezed on, puked on. And for what? Do any of you show the slightest bit of gratitude? No!
After finishing, she opened the emergency slide and jumped down, coincidentally colliding with the ground crew rushing over. Subsequently, the rescue team arrived, finding the stewardess had only fractured her ankle, but the bottle cap had lodged in the man's throat, causing him difficulty in breathing. Firefighters immediately began the rescue operation. Both ultimately recovered. Do you think the stewardess was wrong?
So everyone has their breaking point.
Airship crash, heading straight for the stadium 800 meters ahead.
Come on, guys! Come on! We're not gonna make it!
Before people could react, someone shouted.
My God, it's a van!
People rushed out of the stadium in panic. The girl and her mother got separated during the escape. She accidentally gets pushed down the stairs by the crowd and faints. A man tries to help her up, but is startled when he sees the device on the girl.
She dialed out!
Scared, he turns and runs, leaving the girl lying on the ground alone. The police officer quickly arrives at the scene and tries to explain to the panicking crowd.
There has been an accident! There has
However, the man tells her there's really a bomb. The police officer approaches to check and finds it's not a bomb at all. It's a device that powers the girl's artificial heart. The girl is about to die. She begs the officer to find her mother. After 666 minutes, the officer finally finds the mother and gets the backup device. The girl is successfully saved. In times of crisis, never spread rumors that could cause panic. Do you like strawberry-flavored ice cream? When the firefighters arrived, a group of teenagers were live streaming on TikTok. The firefighters told them to leave, but they just moved the live stream outside. The girl was shaking with fear.
I think I broke my arm. I can't feel anything. I'm really cold.
While measuring the girl's pulse, the firefighter put a jacket on her. During the questioning, the firefighter learned that earlier, a teenager came to buy ice cream, but while the boy was scooping the ice cream, the machine suddenly broke down and stopped. The boy put his arm inside to fix it, but his arm got stuck.
I'm stuck.
The girl came over to help, but she got stuck too. Luckily, the firefighters arrived in time and cut the ice cream machine open, freeing the girl's hand. But to be honest, why did he put his arm into the machine? The man woke up, found himself in a delivery box. He also has claustrophobia. Just as he was about to cry, he remembered that saying, "Queen never cry," so he stopped the tears. A few minutes ago, the machines in the man's factory suddenly broke down. He went to check them out. Then, the heavy shock made him pass out. His co-workers didn't see him because of the phone blocks. And since today is Christmas, everyone was rushing to get the gifts out. When the man woke up, he had already been shipped off on a truck. The emergency operator told him to try to break open the box, but the man was too weak from lack of oxygen. At that moment, the man suddenly felt the truck stop. He thought he was going to be saved, but he didn't know he was about to be shipped on a plane as cargo. It was the middle of winter, and if no one saved him, he would freeze to death. Luckily, just before the plane took off, firefighters arrived on time, found the man in the cargo hold, and took him to the hospital. I get the point, but why was the box so big? A guy drives right up on the curb and hits a woman. The firefighters and police show up. The guy stumbles out of the car, freaking out.
I've gone blind! Help me, I'm blind!
The firefighter checks his eyes with some equipment, asking him what happened to make him go blind. Strangely enough, the guy says nothing happened to him. He just went blind out of nowhere. The woman who got hit says he suddenly drove straight at her while she was just walking down the street. The firefighter checks his pupils. They're responsive. They start to think he's just pretending to be blind to avoid responsibility. One of the firefighters gets a clever idea.
I have a serious issue myself. Ogle, will you take a look at my chest? Because I didn't layer up properly and I'm afraid that I'm getting frostbite.
The guy's eyes instinctively dart to her chest. Just like that, his blindness miraculously cures. The cops come in to take him away. The guy is still trying to argue, but at this point, no one's buying his story anymore.
Please help us! We're stuck! We're stuck!
A couple is trapped inside their car, with water flooding in rapidly. The water level is nearly up to their heads. Could it really be raining that heavily? It turns out the water is from a burst sewer pipe, and the immense pressure has caused chaos on the road. Another car crashes, leading to the opening scene. The water is about to rise over their necks. The firefighters smash the glass and climb in through the roof.
My leg's caught! It hurts!
There is a man and a woman inside the car. The woman's leg is trapped under the steering wheel, so they need to save the man in the passenger seat first. The man immediately refuses, saying he wants to stay with his girlfriend through thick and thin.
Guys!
Finally, the boyfriend climbs out after some urging. The firefighter then tries to turn the steering wheel, but it's stuck. The woman's leg is getting worse, and blood is pouring out. The captain tells him to stop the bleeding, or she'll be in danger.
Can't drain it, we move it!
The firefighter grabs a rope and, with the captain's order, the fire truck pulls the trapped car out. The woman is saved. The paramedic gets a call and heads over to the house. When the man answers the door, there's a huge wound on his face. She immediately knows it's from a gunshot. The man's son stands nearby, looking scared and anxious. The man says he thought there were no bullets in the gun, so he was just cleaning it. but it accidentally went off. The paramedic feels something's off. His story doesn't quite add up.
You don't have any powder burns. You sure the gun was close to your face?
It doesn't make sense. When the gun went off, it was just the two of them at home. The silence and unease in the little boy's face are a clear clue. The paramedic quickly puts 2 and 2 together.
Are you watching Daddy clean his gun? Daddy's gonna jump back when you pull the trigger tonight.
The man really regrets not being more careful with the gun.
Keep the gun locked up, keep the key around my neck. Took it off when I was in the shower. He found it. It's not his fault.
His wife passed away a few years ago, and if the police find out what happened, his son could be taken away from him. He begs the paramedic to keep it a secret before she can respond. The police arrive. They quickly recognize the wound as a gunshot, and they start questioning what happened. The paramedic steps in and speaks for him.
I don't know. He sure isn't talking for a while.
She suggests taking both the man and the boy to the hospital. The police, seeing the situation, let them go for now. As they leave, the man looks at the paramedic, silently saying thank you. The woman was about to give birth. The doctor suggested she get an epidural, but her husband didn't agree, so she had to give birth naturally. A few minutes into labor, she started to regret it. The baby's head was too big, and it was hard for her to give birth. When the baby's head started to show, it went back and again, back and forth. It hurt her so much. She wanted the epidural again, but the doctor said it was too late because it could affect the baby.
On your next contraction, I want you to push exactly as you have been. I'm gonna push from above while Dr. Asher pulls from below. Okay. Push!
With both the doctor and the mom working together, the baby was finally born. She looked at her baby and felt so much love, but her husband, he didn't seem so lovable anymore.
A kid sprayed water at the woman. The angry woman immediately called the police, but the police hung up on her. So she grabbed the gun from the table, but then someone barged in. The woman tried to scare it away, but tripped over a statue, accidentally shot herself in the chaos. Finally, she fell into the pool and drowned. When the police arrived, the woman was swollen from being in the water. As the detective was wondering who the murderer was, just as the detectives were puzzled, a corgi crawled in through the doggy door. They finally knew the culprit, but they didn't plan on taking it back to the police station. If you were the cops, what would you do? The girl got hit by a car. Her foot twisted at a 90-degree angle. Just looking at it hurts, but the firefighter didn't give her anesthesia and straighten her leg with a bare hand. The pain made the girl scream loudly. On the other side, the driver causing the accident was also in a very serious condition. His entire head was stuck in the windshield while the firefighters were about to rescue him. He was actually murmuring a name.
Keith, is that your name?
No. Help, Keith.
It turns out there were other injured people in the car. The operator got a call. A guy locked himself in a safe, but his girlfriend was happy because a tornado just hit. The guy hid in the safe, totally forgot about his girlfriend, ended up locking himself in. Since it was his parents' safe, he didn't know the password. Because of the tornado, they couldn't reach the guy's parents either. The guy started having trouble breathing. The girl got panicked. She searched everywhere for clues. Finally found a football signed by Kobe. When the cops heard about it, she immediately told her to enter 0823 because it's Kobe's birthday. The safe finally opened, but the girl didn't want to date him anymore. Just now, a guy got stuck in a pile of corn. Firefighters climbed up to the top of the barn, telling the guy not to move to avoid sinking further. They walked on planks to get close to the guy, putting a rescue collar around his armpits. Then they inserted several iron plates around the guy. Afterward, they sucked out the corn within the circle. Suddenly, the safety rope on the woman broke. She kept sinking along with the flowing corn. The man beside her immediately untied his safety rope to pull her. Unfortunately, both of them ended up sinking together. The captain quickly notified outside to cut the iron sheet. He told the guy to get ready and release the protective gear under his armpits. As soon as the barn was cut open, the guy took a deep breath. Corn gushed out. The 3 trapped people slid out as well.